What's up, Foundation? What's up, YouTube? It's me, your big partner, Cartoon, the Village Storyteller. Um, as I always let you know from the beginning, for those who are new to the channel and really don't know, these are fiction or fictitious stories. This is pure fiction. These are not true stories. Do not get it twisted with my other channel, Cartoon 53. Cartoon 53 are 100% authentic, real stories from things, person, people, and places that happen in my life. Over here on this channel, The Village Storyteller, these are stories from audio book form. Instead, if you don't want to sit down and read a book, and you don't have time to read a book, but you driving and you want to hear stories, this way you come to this channel, The Village Storyteller. I always let you know ahead of time about that. So let's just get right into it, man. This here, man, this is something right here. As you could tell, you can see from the title, man, this has involved a few people. And the twist and the turn and the plot on it is so wild that it's just wild. So we get right into it, man. We going into the heart of South Central LA. This story is surrounded by a young man by the name of Carlos. Carlos' young brother, man, you know what I'm saying? Carlos was Carlos was 19. Thought he was 17, but no, Carlos was 19 years old. He had graduated high school, even though he was heavily involved in gangs, even though his loyalty to his neighborhood was unequivocal. You know what I'm saying? It was strong with him. His mother, she would always want him to come out the streets, not do the things he was doing. But, you know, as Carlos got older, she just kind of threw her hands up and washed her hands. You know, she couldn't watch him the way she really wanted to. His father that was in his life, he didn't really do a lot for Carlos once Carlos got old enough and started rebelling. You know, now when Carlos was young, they had a good relationship. Carlos used to listen to him, and Carlos would just go through life, doing what his father asked him to do. But as Carlos got older and got in touch with the streets, it started pulling him away from what his mother and father was trying to teach him. So, his mama really, she washed her hands with him early in life, and she just gave it to God and just, hoped that he would make it home every night. His father tried to deal with him a little bit more, but as Carlos got older and bigger, he would rebel to the point to where it would sometimes come to blows. They would get into, fist fights. So, his father had to back up off of him and leave him alone too. Carlos was known as Sea Dog in the streets. At home, his mama, his father called him Carlos, but in the streets, he was known as Sea Dog, and the name Sea Dog had a reputation. Carlos was doing his due diligence out there, doing what he do. He was doing what he do. Carlos' baby mama, Carlos had a 1-year-old son, and everything was good with them. Carlos' baby mama, Teresa, Sea Dog, I'm gonna say Sea Dog's baby mama, Teresa, she got along with his mother real well, got along with his father real well, would come through, and everything was good. Man, as time went on, like I say, by the age of 19, Carlos was in it to win it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to worry about school anymore. He didn't have to worry about the things that was going on as far as him trying to be a productive citizen, because Carlos was not at that time interested in being a productive citizen. He was interested in what was going on in the streets, in the hood, in the set, in the turf. You know what I'm saying? That's what he wanted to be a part of. Carlos got caught up in a robbery one night. Him and another one of his homeboys, they decided they was going to rob a liquor store, and they did. But now, unbeknownst to them in this day and age, they didn't take into account of the cameras. And they got put on camera, they got caught on camera, and the police, when they took the tape, they could tell that this was Carlos. They knew. They had been having a lot of problems around the area with him. They was tired of him, sick of him, you know what I'm saying? It was always him. He had several altercations with the one time. So they like, oh yeah, that's him. So, they eventually went looking for him. They looked for him. They went to his house looking for him. His mom was worried. His father was worried. But eventually, they end up catching Carlos. Carlos in the county jail. He taking phase. He fighting. He doing what he do. You know what I'm saying? He being a stand-up guy for a set. You know what I'm saying? He going round for round, pound for pound. He doing what he do, y'all. Seeing that this was Carlos's first time, the court system was kind of lenient on him. They ended up giving Carlos 5 years. So now Carlos went on and took the deal. That was the deal. Now, everybody know in LA County Jail, you know what I'm saying, when that first deal come, I would advise you to kind of jump on it, because now if they feel they got you, they gonna run you through the mulberry bush. And Carlos knew that, you know what I'm saying? He's sitting in the tank all day with old heads, and they schooling them. They let them know, hey, look, youngster, this is how this gonna go. Check this out, youngster. This is how this gonna go. This is how this is gonna go. Okay, cool. He went on and he listened. He wasn't hard-headed to the fact. He listened. He went on, took the deal when his public defender came to him with the 5-year deal. He say, cool. He say, man, look, I'm finna go to the pen for a few years. I'm finna get my swole on. I'm finna get rough, tough, and dangerous. RTD, y'all know what it is. And I'm finna come on back to the hood, and I'm finna be OG. I'm finna be this and that. All Carlos was looking at was the accolades that he was going to get from his street creds of going to do his time, being a stand-up dude, not telling, not snitching, not punking the game, getting down when it was time to get down. And he looking at all the attaboys and pats on the back that he was going to get from his set. He was looking at the adoration, the adorable looks from his homegirls that he was going to get when they like, oh man, the homie C-Dog a rider. But he was a rider. He was a rider. Now this bothered his mother to the core. She was worried about him. She knew her son wasn't no punk. But she also knew that at any given time, things could go left in this prison setting. Okay, Carlos ended up getting to prison. He ended up going to prison, y'all. And when he got there, you know what I'm saying, it was like old home week. A lot of dudes that he had been with in juvenile hall was there. Dudes that he knew from the streets was there. And just, you know, dudes he knew from the county jail was there. And it was like, okay, this ain't no thing I can do this, you know what I'm saying? So as time went on, now, off his 5 years, at the time, he had to do half of it. He only had 2.5 years to do. And Carlos would have been right back out after his 2.5 years, which was cool. Okay. Carlos got settled in, you know what I'm saying? And he's got settled into the prison life. And he just started going ham, going bonkers. He was in a lower level prison. He was in a lower level prison because he only had 5 years. With him being in a lower level prison, the real prison experience didn't get a chance really to set upon him at that time. It was like he was in YA. He running around, gang banging in this low level prison because that's what they did in the lower level prisons. And he lifting weights, he getting big, you know what I'm saying? He learning things, he's starting to read books, he's starting to get knowledge of himself. And so on and so forth. He knew that it was more to life than just what he was going through. He knew it. He knew it was more to life than just what he was going through because of him being in there starting to read and learn things about himself. But still in all, Carlos was still caught up in the gang aspect of his homeboys. He still was kicking it with his homeboys. And that came back to bite him one day in the chow hall. An incident that took place that Carlos had nothing to do with. Nothing to do with. It was one of his homeboys, another little young Crip dude, got into it with the Mexican. They immediately start bumping in the kitchen. And from that fight, it resorted into a full-fledged ride in the kitchen. Of course, Carlos being down, Carlos being a Crip, Carlos being who he is, he had to participate in the shenanigans. And so that's what happened. He getting down. After all the tear gas and all the Mason and the police, putting people down, handcuffing them, boom. When it was over with, Carlos found himself in handcuffs. He was sent to lockup and immediately shipped. with him and about 7 more of his homeboys. They shipped a lot of the Mexicans and they shipped a lot of the blacks. Carlos ended up in a maximum security prison. He ended up in a maximum security prison. He was lucky that he dipped on the shoe term that they could have gave him, but he ended up in a maximum security prison. So now here it is, he's sitting in lockup, and he thinking to himself, whoa, I done reached the big time now. I'm here, you know what I'm saying? So some of his older homeboys that were already there from his set, they found out he was back there in lockup. So eventually they was getting, kites back there to him, let them know, hey, homie, come on out, boom, 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 boom. So, but now Carlos had a little stint to do while he was in there. He had a little stint to do. When I say stint, he was gonna be in lockup for a little bit. While he was back there, dudes that was on the tier with him with sending magazines. They started talking to him. So it was an older brother back there. Older brother. It was an older brother back there, and the older brother was an older Christian dude, and for some reason he seen something in Carlos, and he stopped by the cell one day, going to shower, and he like, how you doing, brother? And Carlos spoke with him a little bit, and he gave Carlos, he said, you got something to read? You need a couple of magazines? And so Carlos told me, he said, man, I don't have nothing, but I'm cool. He said, well, I got something. And so he went back to his cell. He got him a couple of magazines. You know what I'm saying? Gave him some magazines. He went on to the shower. When they would come out in the morning for their little walk, you know what I'm saying, to get around, and, he started talking to Carlos. And he eventually started asking Carlos, did Carlos know the Lord? And Carlos told him, he said, man, I don't really know him like that. I ain't no Bible thumper. I ain't in real religious. Homie, I'm a Crip. So the dude said, okay, God don't have a problem with you being a Crip. He said, well, what God got a problem with? He said, the only thing God gonna have a problem with if you don't believe in him. Because once you start believing in him, then everything else will fall in place. So, he started talking to Carlos all the time. And he would, start sinking in. And he asked Carlos, do he have a Bible? But Carlos didn't have a Bible. He eventually gave Carlos a Bible. He said, man, just read it, man. Just read it. Carlos like, man, this book is boring. He said, young brother, just read it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to read it all the time or read a lot of it. Just read what you can. So Carlos said, okay. So even though it was a lot of other magazines and books that Carlos had in the cell with him, for some reason, this book right here started taking to him. It started changing his way of thinking. It started changing his way of looking at himself. It started making him reflect on who he is, where he was going, who he was going to become. And he started looking at his life, the things he done, and he started looking at, you know what I'm saying, the things he could do when he get up out of here. And it started taking effect. Carlos' letters started getting different. When he would write his mom's, the things he would say to her was different. You know what I'm saying? And she noticed the change. She noticed a change to the point to where she wanted to come see Carlos now. But with him being in the hole like that, he told her, you can't come right now, moms. So it was getting deep, man. The spirit would start moving upon Carlos, and it started making him feel a certain type way. It started making him look at life a certain type way. And it got to the point that Carlos realized that he wanted to do something different with his life. Carlos wanted to give his life to the Lord. Carlos wanted to be a changed man. And one day Carlos got on his knees and prayed and asked God to come into his life. Asked God to change his ways. He asked God to give him a different outlook on things. Now, at this time, Carlos was he was like 20 at this time. He was 20 for some months. He was a young man, but he had made a decision. So, as Carlos' time got short, he was time for him to go to population now. Now, when his time got short, I mean, short in lockup. It was time for Carlos to go to population. He knew he was facing the task. He knew he was facing something that he was going to have to run across with his homeboys, because they looking for C-Dog to come out of lockup. They looking for C-Dog. They wasn't looking for Carlos. They definitely wasn't looking for the young brother Carlos. But they was going to meet him. So here it is. Carlos got out of lockup. When he went to his cell block, you know what I'm saying? It was some Crip dudes in the cell next to him. And they asked him, like, what's up, cuz? Where you from, homie? But they call you. And he told him, he said, man, my name Carlos. He said, but I don't bang. He said, I'm from LA, though. They're like, you don't bang? You're a wilder? You know what I'm saying? They seen the tattoo on his neck. They like, that on your neck, you ain't from? He like, nah, I used to be, homie. He said, I'm a Christian now. So they were like, oh. So anyway, the first day that Carlos was able to come out of his cell, he had to do 10 days, what they call CTQ, contain the quarters in his cell. But now word had already reached all his homeboys and people on the main line because of these dudes here. They let him know, man, your homeboy say he don't bang, man. He say don't call him C-Dog. So now at this time, Carlos started getting kites from his people, from his homeboy. Cuz, what's up with you? What you talking about? And he would tell me, he said, man, I'll talk to y'all when I come out. I'll talk to y'all when I come out. Now, Carlos ain't never been no punk. You know, he always had a strong heart. Even at a young age, he knew what he was finna face. He knew he finna stand up under. But he put all his strength, he put all his faith in the Lord. And he was gonna face it like a man. The day that Carlos came off CTQ, when they had yard that morning, Carlos went to the yard. His homeboys was out there. You had a lot of other Crips that was out there, but you also had 5 dudes that was from Carlos' set. 5 of his main homeboys. They was like, so when he came out, he walked over there to him. There's no need to duck it, dodge it, none of that. He went over there to him. And they was like, cuz, what's up, homie? You know, what's up, cuz? You know what I'm saying? They throwing up they set, asking what it like and all this and that. Carlos like, look, homie, I know y'all heard. I know y'all know. They like, so, man, so what's up with that? What's up with that, C-Dog? What's up, cuz? What you trying to rank out on the set? You trying to lead the set? Carlos was like, man, listen. I'd appreciate if you just call me Carlos, homie. I'm no longer C-Dog. They like, you no longer C-Dog? You like, no, man. I gave my life to the Lord, homie. I'm doing something different. They like, you gave your life to the Lord. You doing something different. So he had a homie in there named Warlock. Warlock told him, like, hold up, cuz. Ain't none of that jumping up in here. You should have did all that on the streets. Or you should have waited till you got to the streets to do all that. You ain't doing all that on here, homie. You from the set. And you gonna stay down for the set. And that's that. So he told him, no, man, I'm not gonna do that. So they start arguing, da-da-da-da-da. So they threatened him. They threatened to do something to him. They like, cuz, look, we ain't going out like that. We need all the soldiers we can get up in here. And this is what it gotta be. So Carlos was like, man, listen. I told y'all what's up with me. And I'm not going back on that. I got faith in my Lord and Savior. And that's all it is to it. So now you gotta look, man. Now, like I say, even though Carlos, it gave his life to the Lord, Carlos' heart was still his heart. Carlos was still a rider. But now he just being a rider for something different. Carlos was being a rider for something different now. So here it is. They start plotting on Carlos. Hey, man, we gonna stick this fool. That's what we gonna do. We gonna stick him. That's what we gonna do. We finna stick him. So they all agreed that they was gonna stab him up. They were gonna do bodily harm to him. Since that's what he wanted to be. He didn't want to be down for the set. We gonna stab him up and run him off the yard. He can't stay on the yard. So they told Carlos, hey, man, look, don't come to the yard no more, homie. Go ahead and PC up. Go on, roll it up. Ball your stuff up and get on up off the yard, homie. If you ain't on the set no more, then get on. Carlos wasn't going to do that. Carlos prayed about it and he put his faith in the Lord and he said, look, homie, I ain't going out like that. He said, I'm not, just because I'm a Christian don't mean I'm a punk. Just because you're a Christian don't mean you weak. Just because I'm a Christian don't mean I'm finna tuck my tail and just be persecuted and be ran over. Yeah, I know y'all know about to turn the other cheek. And I will turn the other cheek. I'll turn the other cheek to your verbal insults. But I'm not going to be punked, homie. Y'all know me. Y'all know what's up with me. I'm still a rider. I'm just riding for somebody else right now. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to respect it. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to respect it. The next day, Carlos come to the yard. Carlos come to the yard. He didn't come with no weapons, not no conventional weapons that man calls weapons. He came with a weapon, all right. He came with a sword. He came with a sword. He came with a big sword. And that sword is called the Holy Bible. That was his sword. That was the only weapon he had. That was the only weapon he felt he needed. Because he put his faith in his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He put his faith in the man above. That this word was going to do what it said it was going to do and protect him. Touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. And he put all his faith in that. And when he came to the yard, they seen him. They say, there he go. They sent 2 hitters at him. Man, the two hitters came to get him. He knew what it was. He knew what it was. And he was on his way walking to the church. He was on his way walking to the chapel. And he told himself, well, if they gonna kill me, if they gonna hurt me, they gonna have to hurt me going to the house of the Lord. Because that's where I'm going. They caught him at the front door of the church. They like, what's up, C-Dog? He said, it's not my name. My name is Carlos. They like, you still on that? He like, yeah, that's what I'm on and that's what I'm going to always be on. One of the dudes come out with that heat. One of the dudes come out with the heat and grab Carlos by the front of his prison shirt. The other dude wrapped around Carlos' neck and bent him back. And he told his partner, man, go on, hit him, hit him, hit him. When the dude cocked back to hit him, everything in him flushed down. Everything in him shut down. Excuse me. Everything in him shut down. He couldn't move his arm. His breathing got tight. He had a cold pain in his head. Everything just, man. He immediately spun around away from Carlos and started throwing up on the ground. The dude holding Carlos by the neck, he didn't know what was going on. He like, man, what? He pushed Carlos away from him and went to his homeboy. He like, cuz, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? You all right? You all right? So the dude was like, man, I don't know. I'm sick. Man, I don't know what this is. So the dude like, man, give me the knife. And he turned around to go at Carlos and got stopped in his tracks. He got sick. He got nauseous. He didn't know what was wrong. Carlos told them both. He said, man, y'all don't even know the powers that y'all going up against. He said, y'all don't know the powers that y'all going up against. Carlos started backing up off of him. He said, man, I don't wish y'all no harm. I just wish that y'all wish me no harm. So they just looked at him. They just looked at him. But they knew to not go at him. The further away from Carlos they got, the more they start feeling regular again. They watched Carlos go into their church and they just shook their head. They don't know what this was. But they didn't want nothing to do with it anymore. They knew, no, I'm not fooling with that. When they got back to their big homeboy, they told him, look, if you want to do something to him, go ahead. But we ain't doing nothing to him. And that's where it stayed at, y'all. That's where it stayed at. Carlos ended up going home, man, and had his life all the way together after that. Man, that's just a story, y'all. It's just a story. Peace from the village storyteller, man. I'm out.